Hello everyone, my name is Notepad Anon and I write games for fun. So what are we doing today? Well, today we're going to be working on Dark Corners and Old Tomes some more. And the main goal today is to get this section done, Mysticality, effectively the, what we will call it broadly, the magic system, or the delusion system, more likely, because let's be honest with ourselves. Depending on how long this takes, I might move straight into cult building. I keep going back and forth on how I want to do cult building. On one hand, I want it. The other hand, kind of the narrative needs this like tighter focus. So what I may do is I may scrap cult building. I may not. If I do get like good timing today, I'll probably do these two as kind of like the final note, kind of like as a half GM section, half not, which is like, yeah, this is the full actual goal of the cult currently, and we're trying to summon an Elder God now, or we're trying to not summon an Elder God, but we're accidentally doing it. Have fun, fuck you. God damn. So, let's get down to business. And one of the big things I want to do with this particular system is this is going to be like kind of optional, kind of not. Like that's going to be the weird part because it's like how if you guys are like overly devoted and you guys are getting a lot of devotions and you're getting a lot of things like right here, then you're going to be playing more into this. If you're not really going to see this. It kind of depends on how your play group decides they want to approach things. It's the encouragement is to do good, however, you also have the encouragement to not do good, so it's kind of like, eh. So yeah, it's like, increase the metaphysical attribute, get a new quirk at +0, increase the quirk by +2. Like, that's really it. You're not really changing any of your other stats very much, so, okay. So, mysticality. The cult's main focus, actually, the cult has a set. How do I want to word this? Actually, the cult draws power from something. Something. Whether that's pure faith or something far more malign is entirely dependent and on the cult itself. However, as the cultists draw closer to the end, their devotion and delusion and delusions begin to amplify. Oh, God, I'm scratching my... Ow. Oh, God. Oh, that's right there. Oh, scratching my foot right now. That feels really good. Yeah, sorry for the delay as well. I meant to stream earlier, however, I was screwing around a little bit with the model here, because the program I use is a little bit of a janky program, and they have a new version out, and I'm like, I should get this, but I'm very lazy and don't want to spend like $3 to get it, because it's entirely through a Japanese site. So that'll be fun to deal with. I might do that, I might not. I've been debating on, like, do I want to upgrade my program or not? Like, I'm using really jank-ass programs right now, so it's great. It's a ball. God bless this beautiful disaster area. So, cults is drawn near the end. Their delusions begin to amplify their own power, as well as the madness surrounding them. Yeah. Mysticality is the byproduct of this power. The ability for the cultists to derive. Actually, no. Do we want to use derive? Yeah, I think derive is the correct word here. The ability for the cultists to derive their power, power, influence, even if I use the term here, I want to make sure I'm using it correctly. Like, yeah, quasi-magic, and even quasi-magic. It's not quite magic, but it's also not magic. Derive power, influence, and even quasi-magic from the twisting nether. Nether of their patron. The cult's power only grows with their delusional devotion to the cause, forcing them to delve deeper into that power, actually deeper into that pit of psychosis. Forcing them to delve deeper into that pit of psychosis to fully unlock their potential. Magic is going to be pretty simple, because the idea is magic at its core is going to be make a roll. If you succeed, cool, the magic goes off. You just got to give something usually. Like, the more you have to spend fervor. That's the big one. That's kind of the big idea, is that you constantly are having to spend fervor to do your magic. Which also kind of puts it at the idea of, like, you can't, like, I cast Fireball. You're not casting Fireball. You're casting, I'm stabbing my hand with a, I'll cut my palm with a hand and splather it, there to make an eldritch symbol to make sure that anyone who crosses it somehow hits, their head on a pike or something. Like, at the end of the day, man with a gun will beat you in your magic spell. However, you want to make sure that man with gun, by the time he hits you, is probably not doing too hot. And look, they're full potential. And I know... The thing is, I know I'm going to have to put a section in here. I'm going to have to put a side note, which effectively reads, like, you don't really, like... This isn't, like, strictly real. Which is something, like, you kind of gotta understand. Like, this isn't, like, real, possibly, if that's not the game you want to play. However, it also is completely real if that is the game you want to play. That's one of those weird moments. So we want to do... Actually, we can do... No. Let's start with Old Tone, with, knowledge learning. Actually, no, we'll do what do we want to do magic, actually? Hello, Mr. Y. let's see. Do we want to call this magic? Magic versus sorcery. Rituals or actions with occult knowledge. So it would be technically magic, would be the correct phrasing for it. So we want to do quasi-magic. So you want to do magic. Magic in the occult. How do I want to word this? How do I want to word this? What is quasi-magic? One of the ideas behind like what I'm trying to do with the quote magic system end quote is the magic you're using may be magic or it may not be. Hence the term quasi. Like it's not quite that. It's the idea of like you're deriving power from this, and is it really you casting a magic spell to hex someone? Or is it just conveniently believing that you are because you are so fucking crazy right now? So it's kind of that moment, like that back and forth, like, is this real? Am I really casting a magic? Or am I just completely insane? It reminded me of those, what's the word I want to say? Let's see, Reddit witch fights. Astral fights a la. Where is it? Yeah, okay. Um, I adore these. I absolutely adore these things. Yeah, I adore these things. This was after the Taliban took over Afghanistan. Apparently, someone a witch decided to astral project and battle Allah. Allah. You know, the Judeo-Christian God, and apparently lost. Yeah, this is. All I'm saying, like half of me wants to say like these are usually like crackpot people. Either they're doing it for a meme. That's the idea. Like it's not you're not really using magic here. You're believing you're fucking with people effectively to say you are, or you're just crazy, just bonkers. Like you are not healthy. But it's I like here's the thing, like my mother is really into is really into that kind of stuff, the incense and the the candles and all that. She really likes that kind of stuff, and I get it. Like she's explained it to me before, and I have always kind of understood it. It's a lot of think play a Monster Mallers. How did that go? It's the idea of I feel good about myself, therefore good things will happen. I'm burning this candle to make me feel good about myself to do that. Like I get that, but then people are like, I'm going to astrally project now to fight people. I'm like, what am I smoking? Like it's not like quite Eoris level, but it's getting there. Let's see. We want to do magic. Magic is the art drawing power from an unknown source. Unknown source, if I can actually type correctly, unknown source to influence the world around the cultist. Magic comes in many shapes and sizes. But the key part of it is the ritual materials. The part of it is the ritual materials and the raw belief that the magic will occur. Contrasting popular belief. Actually, let me... we want to do the Satanic Panic. Not the RPG. This was, let's see, Satanic Panic in the 1980s. When did it really start? Yeah, 80s. QAnon, oh god. Delusion of Satan. Yeah, actually, I should. And Rob believes that the magic will occur. Contrasting popular belief, magic is not. Oh yeah, no, I know which one you're talking about. It's surviving edged weapons. That was it. John Tron went over that one, I believe. Hail Satan! See, people always say, like, oh, never bring a knife to a gunfight. Being like, yeah, never bring a knife to a gunfight unless you start the fight. Then a knife is usually pretty decent. Like, not... Like, I give the UK this. Like, they have improvised their knives for centuries at this point. And they are excessively good at stabbing another person to death with one. Contrast to popular belief, magic is not... It is not based on... Yeah, also bring a knife to a gunfight. That's usually a good idea. Like, when in doubt, it's better to have a knife than not. Contrasting popular belief, magic is not about slinging fireballs. That is the domain of fantasy novels, and little else. Magic is about influencing the weave of reality. And the weave of reality. In changing small parts and making sure it flows with the current state of affairs. Larger and more complex spells may be able... Oh, look, it's him again. I want to buy a follower. I want to be famous. Gonna be famous. Just gotta buy followers. Every fucking time. Don't worry, I'll be famous if I just dump a bunch of money for a bunch of fucking people with bots. Let's see. Larger and more complex spells may be able to influence... May be able to shift entire towns, or bring about a natural thing. Shift entire towns, but rarely will something truly apocalyptic occur. That's where you need rituals. That's kind of the idea of, like, if you want to summon an elder god, you're not summoning an elder god by snapping your fingers. No, you're doing a lot of shit. Let's see, larger, more complex spells. Let's see, okay. When, actually, a cultist that wishes to use a spell must use magic, must spend a devotion to learn the craft. Then to learn the craft. After being able to perform such a feat, the cultist Must make a check after assembling the materials. After assembling the must make a check after assembling materials comprised of either a body, either actually a born slash personal attribute, and a metaphysical one, a metaphysical attribute. Because the idea is that you cannot just say, you can't just snap your fingers and be like, oh, well, I'm going to cast a magic spell. Not quite how that works. You're going to need to be actually able to do it, which is where you want to build your devotion up really high so you can get all these abilities, so you can start. Because you're going to have, at most, as a child, you can actually perform a magic pretty easily. But again, you're a child, and you are believing that you are casting a magic spell on your enemy. And Satan and probably the Elder God monster is like, good job, little Timmy, you're casting Satan magic now, have fun. That's the point. Because of either a born or personal attribute, actually born or personal attribute, a metaphysical attribute. And next we need to go over... Okay, so, and then we have to go over the spell... So we want to do magical spells tied to metaphysics. So, colors. Let's see, cannot be seen. Understand the unknowable. Let's see, understand the unknowable. Influence others dramatically. Force others to do something against the... Actually, influence others to do something. Dreams. See beyond sight. Plunge into... Gaze upon others' dreams. Timmy's very godparents. I mean, that's like one of the ideas is that like as a child you have the best metaphysics actually like assortment in the entire game. Your soul health is insane. The problem is you are a fucking little child and terrible at everything. And like as someone who is like, hey, we need to do some like crazy spells, you want to make sure the little kid who is seeing God really quick, you want to make sure they're on your side. It's like, hey, Mike, your son's talking to things beyond the veil of reality. Can we please have him for a ritual real fast? Please? No? Fuck. Because it's always a little kid. Why do seniors get more spells than adults? One of the things with seniors is that since they are older, their attributes are a little bit worse. Their personality is a lot more well developed, but they have a D4 and a D8 in their metaphysics. They are technically better than like an adult because you've just been in there longer, and kind of that idea of I've seen enough shit. I've understood things for long enough, and I'm seeing things where I shouldn't. You kind of bought into it a little bit more at that point, because being a senior is as a senior you have one of two kind of backstories roughly. It's I am world weary and kind of like join the cult, and I'm already really bought into everything because I really don't care about the outside world anymore. Or it's I've been in this cult for decades at this point. Now, I've been in here since I was 30, and I'm 64 right now. I've been here for 34 years. Yeah, I kind of believe half this shit. it's not quite dementia. If you kind of want to flavor it that way, like I won't stop you from doing that. If you want to do the idea of like your mind is wandering a little bit more than it should. Yeah, I won't stop you from doing that. So I try not to bring up like dementia stuff. I've seen way too many people go through. That's a fucked up disease. It is not pleasant. But yeah, the weakest one metaphysically are actually adults. They only have a D4. Like they are very vulnerable, but they also have the best born attributes and probably the best assortment of personal attributes, contrasting children and young adults. You do get the do get a worse spread though. No, it's fine. It's not pleasant. Like I've seen it a few times and it doesn't. That's why I actually have like a distinct dislike of movies that like let's talk about dementia and it's usually never done really well. Just because it's like ooh, oh no. What was that movie? It was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. That was it. That one actually had a pretty good kind of underscoring of it, which I actually liked quite a bit. I thought that was a pretty good and that was a pretty good way of approaching it. Let's see, magic in the occult gaze upon others' dreams. Where was I? Yeah, gaze upon others' dreams would be okay. Actually, we want to throw nightmares at others. I want these to be very broad to actually meet recover from injury. Recover from injury. Transfer pain. And what would be recover from injury, transfer pain. So that would be feel no pain, and break limits. And then we have metal. Metal is literally about like keeping, building, actually construct something unnatural. Construct the construct the unnatural. Destroy something unbreakable. That's kind of the idea with these spells. It's kind of that idea of like, well, I'm using all these abilities to do something. Now I'm going to be able to kind of do all these things. And like I'm going to have to put a section after this, which is going to be the magic is influence. Like magic is truly about influencing. So if it's like if someone says, "Oh, I'm recovering from injury," of course I misspelled destroy. Like let's see again. That's why I type everything actually in. One of the reasons I type a lot of things in here is that I don't end up correcting myself until I put it in here, just for my own sanity, because I'm that kind of person. Constructing unnatural, destroy something unbreakable, find something missing. These are going to be pretty much convenience things. It would be something like, oh, in like with dreams, it's like, okay, I fall asleep. It's like, okay, and then it's like, okay, I'm going to gaze upon others' dreams. And effectively, you have a dream sequence where you're looking at somebody else's dreams. Or, hey, with meat, it's, hey, you're recovering from injury. It's kind of like you wake up in the morning and you don't really feel that stab wound you got the other day. And you're like, yeah, okay, you're fine. Break limits would be, if you were to say perform a ritual or something to break your own physical limits, what I would do is nothing's happening until there's something which is like insane, which is like, hey, I need you to, I need to break down this unbreakable door. Okay, roll. I mean, like, what do you mean roll? Like this, it's a metal door. I said roll, and you succeed, and you break down this fucking door. And you're like, oh wow, cool. You broke your foot. Like, you are in immense physical pain right now. But hey, you did it. Construct the unnatural, destroy something unbreakable, find something missing, and then whispers. Could pretty much one of the ideas with spells is that they are not necessarily instantaneous. It's not, I want to cast a heal spell to heal myself. It's, I'm going to cast a heal spell to wake up tomorrow morning and not feel any more pain. It's, I want to wake up, like, for example, find something missing. If I cast that spell tomorrow and I'm listening, okay, I want to find my missing car. My car is completely gone. I don't know where it is. Someone stole my car. And it was like, okay, you cast a ritual, and like 2 hours later, the police call, and it's like, hey, we found your car. Do you want to come pick it up? We found it, abandoned. Do you want to come pick this thing up? It's like, is it because you cast a magic spell? Maybe. Is it because you actively, is it because they just found your car? You don't know. But it's kind of that idea of like, we're influencing something. We're seeing things. Let's say whispers. Listening to the little words far in the distance. Understand language. Listen to elder things. Write words unknown to you. That'll be another good one for whispers. Actually, that would be a good one right there. The last one, telepathy. Okay, listen to thoughts. Actually, listen to distant thoughts. Is this real? Is this not? You don't know. That's kind of the idea. You're always kind of playing it back and forth. And then we actually want to hit Control Shift 8. Example magical spell. Example magics. One of the things too is that I don't want someone who doesn't have the metaphysics to even be able to attempt something. You do not have metal, you're not going to be able to do anything like this. If you don't have if you don't have the prerequisite thing, you're not doing the thing. That's kind of the idea. So, yeah. Okay, now I get to write side notes. Okay, side note. Okay, side note 1. Is magic real? Is magic real? Sorta. If the players dedicate time and effort into increasing their metaphysical attributes, and actively gain more and more fervor, then yes, the magic is real, very real, too real. If they don't, the magic loses its luster. It's weird people chanting in a circle. For the vague chance of attempting It's weird people chanting in a circle for the vague chance of attempting to influence something out of their control. If the actually, so this is a play to the players. Play to the players situation. If magic is real to them, magic is real. If magic is not, it is not. But belief is power. It is not. But remember, belief is power. That's one of the big things about this game, is that belief is power. The fact that you believe in something gives you more power. Magix is like, with a CK, like, that's always one of those, like, yeah, occult from, yeah. I always find it one of those weird, it's only really, like, it's from fucking Aleister Crowley. It's like, it's kind of one of those things, like, you look at it, you're like, I'm kind of like there, kind of not. It's always like, eh. Yeah, it was by Crowley. My Aleister Crowley's. Right there. It is when your chief occupation is occultist. Well, here's the man who invented magic with a CK. Yeah, when your primary job is occultist, you know something has gone very, very wrong. Yeah, traditions. The unicursal hexagram, symbol of Thelma, esoteric, religious, social, spiritual philosophy. Thelma is a scholar as a religion, new religious and magico-religious doctrine. This guy's a weird dude. Like, he's an odd duck. Like, I've read a little bit about him before. He's one of those guys who, like, the more you, like, read up on, the more you're like, the fuck? Like, what in the goddamn? Even his signature is creepy. Eh. But, God, update. Why are you the way that you are? Yeah, OBS had an update. Now I'm all fuckered up and don't know where my ass, my hole in the ground. Hey, don't mess with Ozzy. Like, because there's also God, what's his? It's uh, yeah, he wasn't. Yeah, there's also technically like another. He himself is not strictly a like Satanist, but he was the one who, like, Satanism technically is a religious movement and justified the rest of Satanism. Yeah, it's like if you don't have Crowley, you don't have Anton LaVey. If you don't have Anton LaVey, you don't really have Satanism. So, and just remember, this is what Anton LaVey looks like. The evilest looking man available, and I always have a respect for him for that. Like, it's but Satan has some interesting Like, Satanism has some very interesting and weird bits to things. Because LaVey's Church of Satan is, like, the strict Church of Satan is actually, how do I want to word this? There's technically two technical churches of Satan. They actually, it's, yeah, there's all the different, like, Church of Satan is actually incredibly fascinating in a few ways, and then it's the Church of Satan, and then the Satanic Church, I think, is the other one. That's really odd on the religion fad. That's a cursed phrase right there. It, see, I've always had like a weird respect for Catholicism, mostly because my mom is like a fucking pseudo Catholic, and I love it. I love her for it. But I've always had like a very distinctive. I've always had an odd relationship with religion. I myself am not religious at any capacity. I am, however, a person who understands why religion is important to so many people and like why religion exists. I'm not like fucking atheism. People who like subscribe to that, I always find them annoying. It's like, no, religion isn't the root of all evil. People are the root of all fucking evil. Dumbasses. So let me see. I'm going to do side note what magic does. So that reminds me. Guild Wars use magic, spend devotion to learn the crafting of the permanent. Check out. All every spell requires at least one fervor to be spent on it. But the idea is these are going to be actually pretty difficult checks to actually pull off, so you need to do it. Just do it. So what magic does? Magic is by its nature non-direct. It actually indirect. It is by its nature indirect. Rarely will magic unless the GM wants it to be such. Rarely will magic. To a degree. Like the way I view fervor is the idea is like how deep you're getting into things. And once you do everything in there, it's kind of that like dawning realization where did I just spend 20 minutes of my time? Like, did I just spend like 20 minutes calling upon an elder god that may or may not be like that's probably like weird and like am I calling upon an elder god to make sure that I can see someone's dreams? Like, oh, it's kind of like that dawning realization of like, oh, Jesus Christ, what am I doing with my life? That's what you're kind of spending for like a little bit of fervor on. It's like that, oh God. But to even see, and that's kind of the idea with the two is it's like you cast the spell, it's kind of like that, man, I feel ridiculous doing this. But then later on, someone tears down a door with their bare hands, and you're like, you know what? Maybe magic is real. Fuck. Because the thing is, even like no magic, you have to spend at least 10 fervor to get the devotion. And if you want to do it reliably, you're spending a lot more fervor. Like you're already down the fucking rabbit hole at that point. Like you are already far, far gone. Who tore down the door would believe less into stuff. Not really. That's the idea is that you have to spend the fervor to cast the spell. That's the thing. You spend fervor to cast the spell. And then at that point, once you have the spell cast, then you can start tearing shit down. But you have to ask yourself, um, who's the kind of person who would fully believe that they can tear down a door? Fervor on the maximum amount of fervor, the stat. Not really. The way I view fervor, this is a very gamist way of the way if I were to force someone to explain fervor to someone else, is fervor is your complete at like just devotion to the cause for that moment and you being swept up in it. And if I were to say if I have like 10 fervor at a time, not only am I taking a negative 10 to all of my rolls to go against the cult at that moment, I'm also being able to spend a lot of it for cool stuff. And when you kind of rest and you're able to like start spending your experience points, getting things like devotion, you're spending that little bit to like get caught up into it for you to do things, but you're kind of realizing things you're reducing it down. It's a very gamey method of doing things. Like that's one of the big things about it is it's gamey. But this is a game about cults. Like that's one of the things I always have to like remember about this, that it is in fact a game at the end of the day. If I wanted to do this like full on, then I would have to write either a completely bullshit system or it would be like a completely narrativist. I don't want it to be completely narrativist. That's like that's the one thing I didn't want from this. But fervor is pretty much how completely swept up and kind of like how you're not really thinking about it anymore. The more you spend, the more you kind of come back down to reality. You can have insanely high fervor and you are on cloud nine kind of thing. You better start spending that shit because it's going to get bad if you don't. You really want to spend it because the cult is able to do anything they feel like to you at that point. It's like, yeah, kill your friends. Like, I don't want to kill my friends. Okay, make a check to resist it. It's at a negative 30, but have fun. Fuck you. Like, because you're so into it. Indirect, really will magic unless you wishes to be such. Be a be a fireball or magic missile. Magic influences situation. Ability. If let's see, cast a spell to find their missing car, which was stolen from them. 2 days later, the police may call, and report that they found the car, lost in the woods. Was it the magic spell? Or was it sheer luck? As the magic intensifies, as the end draws closer, the effects become far less predictable. For example, our finding the car. Let's see, far less predictable. For example, our finding the car spell may have the cultist stumble upon it in a convenient way. At the twilight hour, they may even be hit by their own car. Being driven by whoever stole it. So the idea of like, as things intensify, as things kind of near the end, your spells are getting like rapidly more and more. I know I misspelled convenient. I'll fix it in a second. More and more insane. The more insane things are getting, you're going to be able to get your car back if you cast the "Where's my car" spell, but it's going to be them hitting you with your fucking car. Don't. Make sure you know what you're doing. A footnote, we want to insert table 1 by 1, paste. Style. You see. Okay, so we've got that. Reminds me, what else do we need to do? Scroll up all the way up here just to make sure. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to do actually a ritual magic. That's going to be a thing that we can actually fold in tomes here. Ritual magic, the delusions, mutation, summoning. Yeah. We could do that. That's one of the things about this game that I'm like deliberately trying not to do. I've not mentioned, like, have I actually mentioned Lovecraft at all? Yes, I've mentioned Lovecraft 0 times. Have I mentioned Cthulhu at all? 0 times. Let's see, Elder God. Really, the only time I mentioned Elder Gods is up here in the preface. Like, I'm trying to avoid being like, lol Cthulhu, because it's not about Cthulhu. It's about, like, just ancient gods from beyond the color of space. I do have the one which is the one setting that takes place in the 1970s. Like, I think I put it in 1974, which is pretty much someone accidentally, someone pissed off the reality tyrant, and now everything is on fire. That's literally it. Like, somebody somewhere pissed off something that kind of controls reality currently, and we're all a little bit fucked because of it. Hence why the example character, the example cult is, if I scroll all the way up here, is the Nation of the Shining Crown. They just want the rapture to occur. That's all they want to do. Is it to, rapture themselves away to the reality tire? Who knows? Who the fuck cares? Don't question it. Yo, let's see. Oh, God. Oh, I sneezed. I sneezed. Let's see. Okay. I'll do. Let's see. Ritual magic. Rituals. Rituals. Throughout the cultists. Throughout the cultists' time, actually, throughout the end of the cult's life cycle, at the end of the cult's journey, the cultists will be sent out frequently to recover artifacts and tomes required for the ending ritual, for the dramatic finishing moments of their the dramatic finishing moments. These ancient artifacts and tomes may contain powerful rituals. was for the cultists to undertake and perform. A ritual is incredibly powerful and breaks reality slightly. And breaks reality slightly, allowing the cultists to fully draw upon the power of the world itself to change something. Breaks slightly, allowing the cultists to draw upon their power for the world itself to change something. Where magic flows, rituals shatter. Rituals often require heavy sacrifice or some obtuse method to successfully complete it. Heavy sacrifice or something obtuse method or something obtuse or some obtuse method to successfully complete it, forcing the cultists to build up to their particular rituals and convince others to participate. Rituals like magic require a check. However, the cultist casting requires a different amount. Actually, the cultist casting may only use Actually, how do I want to word this? Because pretty much the idea is you can only use the spell may require, like, okay, you need to have a D8 meat, you need to have a D4, D6, metal, and like a D10 dreams to actually make this possible. However, with the mechanics of the game, you can't have all of you can't add all of these even if you have them. What you need other people. And actually, however, the cultist, I know, requires assistance in casting the rituals successfully. Each cultist participating, each cultist taking part in the ritual dedicates one of their guessing ritually successfully. I'm good at this. I know what I'm doing. Metaphysic. Each of the cultists taking part in the ritual dedicates one of their metaphysical dice to the check. Actually dedicates a relevant control arrows to move type line fast. Like, that's not how that works. You mean just the arrow keys? Control does nothing really. I can go down. Yep. Object reference, not an instance of the. Yep. Let's. Yeah, I got an error doing that. Yeah, I got an arrow doing that. Error. That's not how it works. I don't want to error out. No, trust me, please. Which I'm a little bit worried now. I want to paste this in here just so I don't make sure I don't lose it. Relevant dedicates a relevant copy of their irrelevant. Ritual dedicates a relevant metaphysical die to the check. Once all the dice have been assembled, the main caster rolls. Main caster makes the check. If successful, the ritual goes off. If it fails, all participating cultists may dedicate fervor to attempt to make it succeed. Failure is usually very bad. is usually disastrous. There we go. Yeah, it doesn't. Like, I'm holding control and hitting the arrow keys right now. It's not doing anything. I mean, it's like code into my head at this point. I can do this. This is the one. Oh Jesus. Yeah, this is a good start. Yeah, let me just fix everything real fast. Yeah, it actually closed out of the. It actually closed out of that. That was a new one. Oh wait, don't. Okay, there we go. Select that. Select you. Select this. Select this. There we are. There we are. This is what happens when you click things that go wrong. Everything's on fire. I probably just hit something on accident when I wasn't supposed to. Here, let me actually just reset my windows here real fast. Okay, is everything good? Yeah, everything's good. See, the weird thing about the thing I actually use for the VSona and all that jazz, it's literally called Anyone VTuber. It is a Japanese application that works pretty well for my shit posting needs. And it is a weird setting because technically this is a separate window the application creates. And because it is a separate window the application creates, sometimes OBS likes to read the parent application as the main application. Yeah, it's kanji. I don't play. I think it's hiragana. I think most of it's hiragana, but oh Jesus. Just want to make sure everything is good. Yeah, it's a very janky program, but it works. I've been meaning to actually like. Yeah, let me bring it up. Like, if I can do. Yeah, this is my jank ass looking setup right here. It is a. I can't do any of the fun stuff with like the. You know, like, oh, well, you can open your mouth and close your mouth and stuff like that. Nah. Can't do any of that. Why? Because my microphone likes to pick up everything. and I can usually, like, the thing is, on OBS I can fake things. Like, here's the beautiful thing. I can fake a lot of things on OBS for me to sound better because I have a shitty mic. I always know I do, but I can fake it pretty good. I cannot fake things very well on that application because it's very simple. It's like, if you hit X, you do Y. Very simple. The only thing that I would want to do is add in is have the expression set option. The car flaps will talk. I've debated on trying to do that. Fun fact, that's not a thing really. Like, I know how I would do it. Here's the thing. I know how I would do it. Mostly the problem is, if we look at a notepad, great leader notepad add-on, is like right here. Technically, this is transparent. If this wasn't curved, I could make it work, as I could just copy this section right here and then paste it over and just have this up. But the problem is, since it's curved like this, and this is kind of at a weird angle, like all of this right here is transparent, what I'd have to do is like do some really jank-ass method of doing things, but it's like very awkward to do. Like, I've debated on how to do it, but every time I'm like, this seems like a good idea to do. I'm like, it's not worth it. It is not worth this at all. Like, older notepad, like, here's the thing. Like, I've used some, like some of the older, like, notepad icons work. Like, there's one. Like, you get some, like, the really old ones that look like this. Or, what was it's Windows XP. XP notepad. Yeah, you get shit like this. Like, some of these work, some of them don't. Like, it's actually maintained a pretty consistent, like, look for a while. Like, that's always something. Like, this is Windows 95. I've used Windows 95 one before, but this is really janky. This is actually just a free icon. It's something to look like it. This is the one I usually use if I want to make it like royalty free. Like, I have a lot of icons. I have too many notepad icons. It's a problem. It's a major problem in my life. Let's see. Let's see. So, failure is usually disastrous. And since we have rituals, so we want to do... Actually, we'll put delusions at the end. So what we need to do is... Actually, we'll do summoning. Summoning and summoning. There will be times when cultist wishes to summon something from beyond the colors of time. These moments, these entities are bound to them. We're bound to them, but also a servant of a higher power. When a cultist summons an entity using a using a ritual. They will make a... Yeah, it would be a psych. They'll make a psych check. with a personal attribute linked to the summoned creature, linked to the summoned creature, as well as the metaphysical attribute used to summon it. Often this check comes in three stages, comes in 3 tiers. Binding, it would be binding, control, and servitude. The binding is forcing the summoned creature to be bound to this world, and the summoner. Someone is pinging me. I'm not. See, that's the thing. I don't really want to define it. Like, originally, in my notes, there was the idea of, like, maybe I should just make my own, mythos. Multiple cut and summon a creature. With bigger rituals, it would be the chief summoner. It would be pretty much the one heading everything up, who would make the main role. Which I'm actually going to have to put in a note there, which is like, if something does go drastically wrong, one of the other cultists can attempt to bind the thing. It'll just be harder. It'd be like that's your oh god, oh fuck, oh Jesus Christ. Because doing dramatically failing the thing is that you've just unleashed this monster on our beautiful world. Have fun, asshole. It's trying to kill you now. It's forcing some creature to be bound to this world and the summoner. This is the easiest. This is the controlling the entity has it controlling the entity gives control over to the summoner, allowing for rudimentary control and orders for the beast. For it to fall. Actually, controlling the entity gives the control over to the summoner, allowing for rudimentary orders to be followed, and listen to the summoner's demands. Finally, servitude is the most difficult. Check to pass. But if successful, the being has its free will subverted and is under complete domination by the summoner, allowing them to force the creature, force it to do as they please. Should I put Chief Summoner? I'll debate on that. Let's see. Do as they please. The Summoner is the head of the ritual. The cult is performing the ritual proper. Performing the ritual proper, not one of the other cultists. Cultists taking part in it. Should the summoner fail to bind the summoned entity, another cultist can attempt to usurp the position of summoner and attempt to bind the creature themselves. This is harder. This is harder by +4. Actually, the difficulty increases by +3. Actually, by the creatures themselves, they do suffer a, what did I end up calling it? Because it's not what I think it is, because I'm silly and I call things different words. Do suffer 2 dread attempting such a feat. So, okay. If no, let's see, another cultist. The cultist can usurp the position of summoner. Only this event, actually a usurpation of the summoning can only occur once. If both parties fail, if both cultists fail, the summoned creature is released to do as it pleases and follow its own instincts. They do not like reality or the unfortunate soul who dragged them there. What I'm saying is summoning is difficult. Don't do it. Like, that's always like that's one of like the major questions in this entire game is like, who is the kind of person who's going to be like, I'm going to now try to summon a eldritch abomination beyond the color of time. And I can tell you, it is someone who is definitely not smart. I always put a T there. I always want to put a T. I know it's not the correct way of spelling it every time. Usurp. Yuck. Why is usurp such a weird word? Why is it so French? Oh, French. Well, let's see it. And actually, I'm gonna put a side note right here. Side note on target numbers. I wanted to keep this a bit simple for purposes of role playing and allowing for some quote too easy moments to force the cultists into doubting their abilities. Overall, each step of the ritual, each step of the summoning is roughly about +3 from the last. For example, if the let's just do Elder God monsters. Let's see, what's some fun? Actually, Call of Cthulhu monsters. What's some monsters in here? Come on, Call of Cthulhu. Oh, we got some crazy Shoggoth looking motherfucker. We wants this let's I forgot, like, it's always all this weird shit. God damn it. What's the correct term for it? Do I... Let's actually... there we go. It's a good... Let's just do a good Shoggoth. Everyone likes Shoggoths. There we go. We gotta work with that. For example, if the cultists are seeking to summon a Shoggoth monster thing to eat their foes, it'll be fairly difficult. It'll be fairly difficult. TN. What's a difficult check? We'll say, yeah, it'll be fairly difficult. It'll be fairly difficult to bind the creature, to bind the entity, to bind it, to control it, TN 14 more so. And to render it servile, it'll be, and to render it actually servile TN 17 would be difficult for the most accomplished. Some entities may have a far easier time to be bound, but may not want to be rendered controlled or enslaved by petty humans. TN like TN 4 to bind, TN 11 to control, TN 20 to 20 to what do I end up calling it? Because I keep forgetting to do things. We will do rituals. To be a servant. While others once bound to this chaotic, to this meaty world, the meaty world may find it far easier. To listen to orders. TN, we'll say 14 to bind, TN 14 to control, because you pretty much just have to roll the same thing, and like TN 16, like TN 17 to become a servant. Like, the idea is, like, by the time you've hit that, you've already made it, like, that much easier. It's very simple once you hit that point. Let's see. We'll do insert table. God, insert table one by one. I actually fit this all in one page. Yes, I can fit this all in one page. So we got summoning, We've got rituals, we got magic, and now we need to do, it would be mutations and delusions. Okay. Let's call this as it is. Disasters and problems. Actually, no. Abyssal glares. Uh, when when a cultist fails a ritual or partakes in, actually, when a cultist fails, that one fails when touching the magical world, when touching magic, be it in strict occult rituals or attempt when touching the unknowable. Actually won't do attempting magic. Fails when touching occult elements, be it in strict rituals or attempting magic. They will suffer the consequences. Control. The idea is more like, the way I'm thinking about it is, first thing is like, I'm gonna bind you to me. Like, we're in this together now. You're like, okay, you're not gonna listen to anything I say unless you want to do it. Like, all right, cool. The second one is control, which is saying like, I have influence over you now. You may not want to do something, but I'm gonna force you to do it because I'm controlling you. You still have some free will to kind of interpret things. If I were to say, go kill that man, you're like, all right, I'm going to kill him. It might take him 3 weeks, but he'll do it if you feel like it. Servitude is, you are bound to me and you do what I say. And I'm also trying to use, avoid that word too much outside of a negative context. Enslave is a scary word. People don't like that word very much. I use it in like the negative, like I'm enslaving you because I'm a bad person. Like servitude is like, you are stuck with me as much as I'm stuck with you. It's kind of like how much control you could say you have over someone. It's the difference between I have control over you and like I am control right now. Like, you don't really have a say in whatever I want to do. Indenture could work. Indenture is one of the, it's like, any of these words always have like a really weird context. This is the beautiful thing about the English language, which is which is disastrous, is you can go like, if I were to say slavery is bad. There's no word that you can like really say like slavery is good. No, that's not a thing, which is going to be really fun when I hit Project Noye. That's bad. However, it's like indenture, that has like a different context. You're like, ah, yes, they're not enslaved. They're just indentured. It's like, okay, this sounds better, but it's like, wait a second. It sounds like it's temporary. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, oh, they're just indentured. It's fine. It's like, wait a second. Oh no. What was the other like? There's some words. Yeah, it implies a little bit more contract with indenturing, and this one doesn't really have that contract idea. That's why it's kind of in that weird language. If you want to sign a contract with something, that's different. And that's why I'm kind of keeping it a little bit loosey goosey in this idea, which is like, if you sign a contract with an entity, being like, I'm going to summon you into reality, and this is our quid pro quo, then like, yeah, I would say make it really easy to bind them, make it really easy to control them, and like up to a limit, but then make it like almost impossible to actually go any further from that. Which could be some one of those like, here's something funny to kind of do it, like, hey, why is this ritual so almost impossible to actually bind to this thing? But it's like, second we bind it, it's like completely enslaved to us. It's like, something's going on here. This is a little bit wacky. I don't like this. Something is wrong. Oof. Oof. Then you have thrall. Thrall is a fun word too. Like, say to being in someone's power, having great power over someone. Like, thrall is like one of those really weird words that has immediately been also completely corrupted by thrall from goddamn the oofing. Oof. Yeah, this is you ever want the corruption of language, welcome to World of Warcraft thrall and the word thrall. That's why he's named as such, because he used to be a slave. That's why he's named that. What was he at, like? I've seen this once before. There's another really funny one that so this is Special Week. Now, yeah, this is Special Week. Special Week is a thoroughbred horse. However, do you see the issue here up here? That's an anime girl. There's a reason the Yakuza will break your fucking kneecaps for, drawing horse girl, like Ume Musume images. The Yakuza will break your kneecaps if you draw that because of this. They don't like this. Yeah, like that's a dedicated thing about the Yakuza, because what was happening was the Ume, not strictly knee breaking, but it's like a known fact the Yakuza will visit you and you will be told to stop. Like what happened is a lot of horse racing in Japan is owned by, well, a few very let's Umem is a pretty derby art requirements, I think. Where is it? It's a very amusing like section where you look at it, you're like, wait a fucking second, I can't remember where it is, but if you look at it in long enough, you'll be able to find it. Actually, there we go. Harmful representations of. There we go. This is it right here. Uh, Effectively, what happens is in Japan, horse racing is alive and well. Because racing is actually the only sports you are allowed to bet on in Japan. Fun fact. Hence why carradine racing is still a thing. But what occurred was people were drawing fan art, obviously, of these characters. Because, like, hey, I like these characters. However, some of these horses are alive and well and still make money for these people. Very old men in Japan and make a lot of money racing horses and breed and, making sure they get, breed and stuff. The problem was, when you are a businessman and you're like, okay, I got my mare here, and they got their stallion, their stud. I'm like, okay, I just want to make sure what their background is, make sure they have some good running in them, like this, to make sure like I get a good result out of this. And the first thing you Google is fucking Special Week, some anime girl. You're like, mostly when you hit the images section, and it's just Rule 34 of it. You're like, you know what? Maybe you're fucking with me. Maybe this isn't a real horse. Maybe it is a real horse. I don't know. So, Cygames had to put out a thing being like, hey, Pretty Derby fans, don't draw anything naughty about it. Please, don't do it. Don't. And that was the given reason. It's like, oh, well, we don't want to hurt, any of the representation. The unofficial reason was, Yakuza guys own a lot of these horses, and they will break your kneecap. They will fucking break your hand. They are very unnice about it because they don't want their boss's horses to get, well, fucked. Very different. Mostly when you consider as well, a majority of these characters are technically stallions. I want you to remember that. Anytime you see anything with good old, Umemaru Pretty Derby, remember distinctly, this girl is a stallion. That was... Don't look at that image in the corner there. Wait a fucking second. I'll put that right there. It wasn't even... It's a gotcha game at its core. It's just a gotcha. And they're like... It was entirely funded on the idea of, like, me like racehorses. If I like racehorses, I'm going to make a game based off racehorses. But they are anime girls. Happened a bunch of times before. Nothing too out of the ordinary. But, for context, Special Week, the actual character right here, that horse died when the anime finished airing, I think. Like, right when the anime finished, the horse actually passed away. And it was Special Week was actually pretty well known. And it was pretty well known because that damn horse produced kids. It did pretty well, relatively speaking, in the races and stuff. Like, I actually looked at Special Week stuff. Special Week was a damn good horse. Never I'm gonna win 1 billion cups or anything, but consistently good. And that's why everybody liked Special Week, and why, as a stallion, as a stud, he made bank. He was more valuable as a stud than he was as a racehorse. You also get things like Silent Suzuka. Now, Silent Suzuka is a very interesting horse. Silent Suzuka was pretty much slated to be one of the best racehorses in the Japanese circuit. He was a damn good horse. He won a bunch of things early on, and he had a very illustrious career ahead of him. However, on one of the races, he took a corner wrong. It was like, yes. He took a corner wrong and snapped his leg on the racetrack. And once he snapped his leg on the racetrack, Silent Suzuka got shot in the head with a shotgun. So, welcome to welcome to the English language, and why the perversion of language is actually fairly interesting. That's the one I looked a lot into it, an unnecessarily large amount looking into it. I always find it interesting anytime I'm like, here's things I am able to talk about it, because it's actually a really interesting, history and story here. When the cultist fails when touching ultimate element, be a strict ritual attempting magic, they will suffer the consequences. The main source of problems for the cultist comes solely. The main source of problems with cultists comes from their anima, as they suffer minor strain equal to the request of the magic. Actually, as they suffer minor strain. Actually, we want to do we'll say 1d6 minor strain. If casting magic, actually it would be they suffer their metaphysical die in minor strain when failing magic. So pretty much you have to hurt yourself. So if you have, let's say, 6 and you're rolling that, 6 in meat, and you're doing a meat skill, you roll that, I rolled a 2, I take 2 minor strain. It isn't a lot, but it's not supposed to be a lot. When failing magic. As I said, but they, as they suffer their metaphysical die in minor strain when failing magic. When a cultist fails a ritual, they will take anima damage equal to all of the actually anima minor strain equal to all of the participants metaphysical die being used. So, for example, let's say there's three individuals currently taking part in this, and they dedicate a D12, D10, and D8. You take, rolling this dice, 7. You take. So that's pretty good because I roll a 2 on the D12. You'd be taking 13 minor strain, which is death if you are low. Like you will just that's very bad. Yes, you roll them all together. It's great. Don't do that. Don't don't fail things you aren't confident in. But I'm fails ritual. They will take anima minor strain equal to all the participants' metaphysical dice being used. But they may instead offload the strain to other occultists participating in the ritual or nearby unwilling participants. So, if you're not confident you can succeed, get someone who isn't supposed to be there and just kill them. Just murder them with it. Just unload everything and just break their spirit. If a cultist does not wish to take the damage, if the cultist does not wish to take the strain, they may instead develop a delusion. Delusions are, quote, negative quirks, which affect their daily lives. These negative quirks are a penalty to all checks when they are relevant. With their severity, depending on the amount of anima damage and the amount of anima strain sustained. kind of the yeah, that's kind of the idea. Like I want it to be a little bit open for interpretation. So if but I want them to feel like, yeah, this is actually kind of unique. It's the idea of like, hey, we're doing a dream ritual and we're trying to, collectively, look into someone's dream space. We all fuck it up. You're gonna probably develop phobias, like, or you're gonna develop like motor tics for meat functions, or the fact that you can't use your arm anymore, or things like that. Like things are going very wrong if you're getting these, delusions. Which severity depending on the amount of animus strain sustained. Let's just do so 1 to we'll do 1 to 4. 1 to 4 it's going to be a negative. So we can probably will do a table would probably be a better idea. So let's put that right there. Strain participants, and we have to do insert table 2 2. We'll do that. Reduce you down to size. Anima strain, severity of delusion. Actually, delusion severity. Keep it left, keep it in the middle, center. Can I do that? Can I do that? How much? What's the size of this? Can I go down to 0.85? Yes. Can I get you down to 0.85? Yes. So, anima strain. 1 to 4. We're going to do 1 to 4. Yeah, 1 to 4. It's going to be a -1, -3, which is going to be 5 to be 5. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12. 13, 14, 15, 16. And let me see, this would be 17, 18, 19, 20. So it would be 17 to 20 would be a -9. And then we need to do 21 plus, which would be a -12. Yeah, let's do a -12 straight up. Like, it kind of depends on how you want to do it for the naming. I would, if I was running this, if like I was like had everything here, I would probably give them pretty simple names, like to the point. But I would also want to give my players options to like, this is like, what do you actually have? Like, it might be, I might say like, yeah, you're gonna get a phobia of something. Like you have a pretty nasty phobia of something you just witnessed here. What is it now? And one of my players probably say, oh, well, I have a phobia of the dark now. Like, okay, anytime you are in the dark, you're going to be sustaining like a -7 to all your checks. Because you are fucking terrified of the dark right now. It's I can feel it. It's coming. I can feel the sneeze right in my nose. It's going to drive me absolutely nuts. Let's see. The cult does not wish to take strain. They may instead develop delusion. Delusions are. So, okay. A cultist who suffers from a delusion may try to quote buy it off using their devotion, treating it as a quirk. If a cultist were to use their delusion positively, or succeed use their delusion positively, either by fully embracing it, or by completely succumbing to it, it's coming to it, they may be rewarded with a smidge of fervor. No one can protect you. No one can protect you from the horror. No one can protect them from the horrors they've witnessed, except the cult, obviously. They will always protect them. Yeah, that's kind of like what delusions are. Like, I'm calling them delusions because, again, like how the nature of, I don't want to call it madness strictly, and I don't want to call it like anything else. Like, delusion's probably the best. What I wanted to avoid, like, going into this one pretty early is I didn't want to be like, oh no, I'm looking at fish people and I'm going insane. It's the idea of like, okay, I've seen something horrifying and I'm kind of losing my marbles here a little bit. But it's also kind of the idea of like, you're taking anima damage and shit like that from a lot of different sources. Not strictly anything. Anima damage is kind of your, you could almost call it your spiritual stability stance. So, developing these delusions is you kind of participating in cult activities, gaining these things that may or may not influence you. But don't worry, the cult is there to protect you. Because life is good, but it could be better if you just follow me. Someone may buy it off. So I'm actually trying to think. So this would be technically if you can increase a quirk by 2 for a devotion, and devotion costs 10. So, like right here, this would cost by technicality 120 fervor to buy off. This would cost, if we're doing the math correctly, this would be 1, 2, 3. It would be 3. It would be 6. It would be about 60. No, it'd be about 30. So we do that all across the board. It would be about 30, 40, 50, 60. Yeah. I'm just trying to buy all these off. Like, it's getting expensive fervor wise. Like, you're not. Oh, hello. Hello, ambulance. Is someone bleeding to death in the park next door? They probably are. Okay, so horrors accept the cult. Obviously, they will always protect them. And I am going to put in this as a side. I think I'm going to put this in as a side note. I don't think I can justify it as a full section. Mutations and such. Certain games will have the cult undergo some drastic physical changes. These mutations are treated similarly to delusions, but with one key difference. They are both positive and negative. Depending on the situation. A cultist can willingly perform rituals or be, quote, blessed with mutations, and granting them additional abilities and powers beyond mortal comprehension. The problem being is that they are fundamentally going against the grain of reality. By existing. if a cultist has a mutation, they reduce their total anima strain by one full box. Doesn't reduce mutation. They reduce the total anima strain by 1. If they gain additional mutations, they reduce it by 1 plus 1 plus 1. Actually, they reduce it by mutations plus 1. So the first mutation takes 1. Takes 1 anima strain. The second takes 2. 2, and the third 3. Mutations are risky as they give the cultist powers, and abilities beyond the normal, but they risk losing themselves to their new unnatural form. Should they ever lose all of their metaphysical dice, physical dice, from a lack of fervor, their mutations begin to fail, which is often a death sentence. Mutations are risky. They give the cultist power and abilities beyond the normal, but they risk losing themselves to their new unnatural form. Should they lose all their metaphysical dice? Should they ever lose all of their metaphysical dice from a lack of favor? Yeah, that should be. Their mutations begin to fail, which is often a death sentence. Yeah. I think I was going to if they should ever. I knew what I was trying to do there, but I just was typing fast. Which is often a death sentence. Okay. Because the idea here is not all mutations are something like, ooh, woo, I have tentacle arms. It's like, hey, I have a second heart. I get shot, I'm not dying that easily. Like, I really don't care. Or it's like, hey, my skin is now made of... Yeah, I get what you mean. That'd be, like, delusion. Like, that would actually be a good mutation as well, which is kind of like the idea of, like, hey, I'm speaking a bunch of different... I can speak all these cool new languages because my tongue is technically like a crazy tongue. And everyone's like, you're a fucking nutter because you're speaking 7 languages at once, you weirdo. Like, that's why it's like one of those things, like, I wanted to keep this kind of optional, where it's like, yeah, you can have a delusion where you are speaking in tongues and you are speaking all these different languages all at once. However, this is the big thing too. You can also turn that just strictly into a benefit. If you buy up quite a few ways and get it back into the positive, you can just make it a positive. You can say, hey, Game Master, I want to make this, instead of just getting rid of it, I want to make this into a positive quirk. I'd be like, hell yeah, go for it. You've been speaking several languages for so long, you've kind of mastered it. Like, you have a weird accent, but you can speak German, Latin, and fucking French flawlessly, even though you don't know the language. You've never spoken it before, but you now know it. Why? Who knows? We live in Crazy Town. Yeah, so... let's see. It will always protect them. And actually, we want to do insert table 1 by 1. These, depending... Actually, the one thing about Google tables I hate is that technically you can't tab inside of them. Actually, and mutations always strictly physical. Strictly immediately physical. Physical. Second hearts. Not always immediately physical. Second hearts. Nocturnal vision. Let's see. Second hearts, nocturnal vision. Even what would be another good idea of like a mutation that isn't like necessarily. Oh. Sturdy, even sturdier bones. Even sturdier bones are all valid and dangerous mutations. Yeah, like, hey, guy, I can speak French perfectly. All right, can you read this? Like, no, I can't read that. Like, who do you think I am? Like, the idea here is like mutations are good, but if you ever lose all your metaphysical dice, you're kind of losing a lot of things. Like, yeah, nocturnal vision, I can see in the dark. I lose all my metaphysical dice. I'm fucking blind. You have a section like the idea is you're pumping additional blood in your body. You're going a lot faster. Now, the problem is the body is actually astoundingly protective of itself. It is something that will protect itself to the best of its degrees. When your heart stops beating, your body does everything in its power to get that heart moving again because it wants to protect itself. Your heart stops beating, your second heart, because it's an unnatural heart, stops beating. Picture going into cardiac arrest permanently, but you aren't going into cardiac arrest. That's what I mean. Things can get really precarious if you aren't kind of keeping your eye on things. To a degree, because, like, effectively, all a heart attack is, at the end of the day, all a heart attack is that your heart is, it's kind of trying to stop itself almost, and your body is doing its best to make sure that it doesn't stop. And if one of your hearts, if you have an entire part of your body that is just shut down, your body is entering in its danger mode. It's like, we are in severe danger of dying. You aren't in severe danger, but your body thinks it is. So things start getting redirected to something that may never function again, but your body thinks it should. That's where things get a little bit complicated, because you have to think a little bit outside the box. The human body is a great engine. This thing we have, this meat bag flesh we call bodies are incredibly sophisticated to keep ourselves safe. We have so many methods to protect ourselves, and our body does everything in its power to make sure that we don't die. This is thousands of years of evolution trying to make sure that we don't kill ourselves like we're stupid. And if you augment that too much, things get a little bit protective. It's like, oh no. Or if you're really an asshole GM, what you could also do is being the idea of like, yeah, your second heart stop. You run out of your metaphysical dice. Your second heart doesn't stop; it just explodes. So you pretty much have an massive internal bleeding, which is not fun. Let's see, abyssal glares. We have mutations. We pretty good here. Is that everything we needed here? Outside but we did put in the summoning, so okay. This took a little bit longer than I was planning on, but I think I'm gonna call it here for today. On Friday, On Friday I will make the decision of whether or not I want to do more city buildings and more cult building stuff. Probably I will. I have a few ideas how to do it correctly. I have a few ideas of how not to do it correctly. So that's going to be kind of a building up to that point kind of moment. I may drop it, I may not. Then we have the grand goal and final aspirate. This is going to be the GM section, effectively, which is going to be the idea of what are you actually building up to? Because the entire point of this game is that you have entered the final stages of a Call of Cthulhu campaign. The investigators have discovered, oh no, they're trying to summon an elder god or something, like something really bad's going on. You're the cult in the middle of this, and you're building up to that point of the final confrontation. What occurs in that final moment? Do you reject the elder god? Do you say, fuck this, I'm out, I don't want to do this anymore? Do you try to sabotage it, or do you go along with it? All trying to build up to this kind of crux of a moment where it all just collapses, or you save yourself. And that's kind of where things get a little bit complicated, a little bit messy. And obviously, that's one thing I want to get across. That's not going to be easy. There isn't a right answer. There's just people. After we get done with that, like, let's see, what do we have on the list so far? What are the things that we're going to have to be working on, like, right after? I know this Saturday we're doing the Curious Case of Degeneracy. I am not looking forward to that because it's going to be a goddamn mess and I'm going to feel sad about my life. I was like looking at this like, okay, when's it going to load? We're going to be working on Project Tactics Flag Bearer on Monday. If everything goes according to plan, it'll be Monday we'll do the pre-stream. Then we'll start on Wednesday for this. I don't actually think this is going to be a very long project. And it's not going to be very long, mostly because it's already pretty decent. Old Notepad at least had some ideas. It's literally just going to be a cleaning project at that point. At that point, we get to move on to Oji-san Demon Slayer Corporation. Looking at the calendar, if things go according to plan, Oji-san can probably get started on the second week of October, like the second true week, about the 11th, on the 10th. About the 11th of October, kind of that mid-month. It'll be probably half. So we can probably start on the next full project the week after. Probably, I'd guesstimate about the 20th is when we'll be able to start on the next full assortment of projects. I have a few ideas of what's going to go on the list. Though I will probably consult with everybody and see like, hey, what do you people actually want? Because I'm always the one to ask questions of what people are looking for. Most likely we will see the Helljumper Power Armor Killdozer RPG and the Armored Riverboat Combat Adventure, or the Corto Maltese RPG. I have a few ideas of how I want to do this. It's going to be pulp as fuck, though. Just rest assured it's going to be pulpier than fuck. Outside of that, most likely Sparkle Heart is going to end up on there. Yeah, so pretty much the ones I'm looking for are probably going to be that. We're also going to be... I'm going to be attempting to add in aces next time as well. Just because I hate myself. Let's see. That one we can probably add in. Maybe another good one. I don't really know. I got a few ideas of what I would want to add and what I would not want to add. So it's kind of if something pops up. Yeah, Corto Maltese. There are a few games that, the Redux projects, most likely the Redux projects that are gonna get. I do actually know one Redux project is going to be on, like, Reduxes. Like, if I go to Let's see. Redux wise, of like what's gonna get reduxed is, let's see. Caps is gonna be on that list, definitely. Dying of Dryads is. I should go back into Fate, but I don't really want to. Not really. Let's see. I could probably go into Project Kobiets. And then probably Nautimons is on there as well. Like, the thing is, like, Nautimons isn't actually that old. Like, relatively. Uh, it's going to be the Maltese It's going to be the Maltese. I hope you know that. I'm going to mispronounce it because I'm not Italian. I'm a proud-blooded American. Mostly a German-Irish American. It's going to be the Corto Maltese. As a God-fearing American. But I have a few ideas. I don't want to do like a full-on one though. Like I don't want to do like this is just Corto game. I don't want to do that. I don't think that's the correct answer. Uh I might I don't quite know how I want to do it yet, but I want to make it really pulpy. And it was suggested for armored riverboat combat stuff. So I'm like, all right, I'll see what I can do there. Cool, I guess. But as always, like if someone does suggest anything, I'm always, there. And if I get an idea, I might be like, haha, this is it. I've come up with a new recipe. But I will call it there for today. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I will see you all on Wednesday. Not Wednesday, on Friday. I'm thinking ahead. And I'm going to get the stupid notepad classroom thing done tonight. That is the goal. I have everything laid out. It's ready to go. I just need to do it, and it's going to be annoying. Because I need to find a good way of doing that. Like it was a test one to see if it does work, and it's oof. The notepad's little classroom is kind of a project because people ask me a lot. Like it started out the idea of like people ask me a lot of like, hey, Notepad, how do I like it's like, hey, Notepad, how do I, write a game? Like, hey, Notepad, where do I start? Hey, Notepad, how do I do these things? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like I've written it out before of like here's all the various things you actually need to do, but I think putting it in like video format would be the best idea. So I am. It's it's literally going over this first one is going over like the most broad strokes ideas possible. Get your idea, refine it down to an anchor, choose your core mechanics, get your exterior mechanics set up, refine the shit out of it, and then a bunch of little notes at the end. Like that's at its core what it is. But it's like, well, this is what the anchor is. Oh, I'm getting a phone call. All right, I'm gonna call it here for today. So Godspeed, good luck. I'll catch you all on the flip side. Yeah.